Oh, we're live. Look at that. All right. So, yeah, I have no interest in actually right now switching off Ubuntu Mate at all. Um, I really like it. I mean, it's stable. I mean,
Yep.
uh, it's intuitive. I mean, it has great panel management. It's not quite as great as like KDE or something like that. It has all the options or
Yeah.
whatever. But it actually, it's like it doesn't crash all the time. There are a few things that bother me. Like, all right, so if you use the
Yeah.
default GNOME 2 panel layout
hmm
where it has like the applications places system up at the top and there's monitor,
Yeah, that's what I have right now.
right? You can't just move those icons like by dragging them like you'd think you would be able to. You actually have
Yeah.
to right click on it and then hit move, and then you can move them around. So it's not quite as intuitive,
Yeah.
you'd expect it to be. But once you figure that out, it's not too bad. Trying to figure
Yeah.
out how to put a panel on a second monitor really drove me batty for like a week.
Yeah.
Um, in order to do that, you have to right click on an existing panel, create a new panel. On the new panel, you have to click like something like don't expand a screen, so it just is kind of like a little panel, and then you can drag it, and then you got to re-expand
Mm.
it. It's kind of,
On the other side.
yeah, it's not nearly as intuitive as you think it would be, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's nothing. Deal. I have not come across. That's the thing is usually in a Linux distro, I come across one thing that's a deal breaker for me. It's
Yeah.
almost a guarantee that I'm gonna change because that's a deal breaker for me.
Yeah.
For like,
Yeah, I know it's the same thing for me. Even when I was reading about the new SRU for Ubuntu LTS, oh, I was so tempted to go back. I don't know why I love it so much, but then I was like, oh fuck, this thing is so nice. I don't think I'm gonna do that.
yeah,
Like
I've no.
there's small things, right? Like the fact that they separate the shutdown from like the lock and the log off. That like it's just a small thing to me, and I like to be able to search. Like I know there are little things. If I took time, I could probably find out how to do it and stuff. Like regular flavor Ubuntu for so long that I'm kind of used to it. So now I have to like relearn stuff.
Yeah, so if you're using the straight up GNOME 2 panel outlook that you say you are, that's one of the things that I miss too is being able to search through the menu. I mean,
hmm
you can't do that with a certain layout. Now, if you replace it with one of the different menu options, you can. Like they
Yeah,
have four different menu options for the panel.
yeah. I think they have the. I think you said they have the one that's like mutiny or something, and
Yeah, the
it's
Mutiny
like
one.
really close.
Yeah, it's like really close to Unity. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't use that because I don't care for Unity. What I did instead is I've been using something called Albert. Do you
Yeah.
know Alfred on the Mac?
Yeah.
This Albert is the Albert Alfred
It's
of
Alfred's
Linux.
brother.
Yeah, it is. They're brothers. It's exactly the same, only it's more customizable. Um,
Yeah.
and
Okay, I
obviously
might
it's
have
free
to
and open
try
source.
that out.
It's really good. And you can
Yeah.
have it like so. I use it as control spacebar. I click that up,
Yeah.
and then a search bar comes up right in the middle of the screen, and you search wherever you want. You can set it to
Ooh, I
search
might have
for
to try that.
files, web. You could even set it up to do like instantaneous terminal commands. So if you want to like
Ooh, nice. I
uh,
like that.
reboot or
Yeah.
make directory or whatever you want to do, you can do it right from
Like
there.
macros.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Obviously, because it's Linux, it's fucking free. I mean, they should charge for this shit. It's so good. I mean, and it's stable too. I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't had it ever crash. The only thing you have to do is figure out how to get to start up when you start your computer up, so that it doesn't
Oh yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
actually there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll have to remember to start the
Yeah.
program every time.
Like a shell script or something.
Yeah, I mean, Mate has a a, a place where you can set up startup applications,
Oh
but it's
yeah.
not nearly as it's not as
Yeah.
intuitive as other ones because it's done through commands instead of an
Yeah.
actual like
Gooey.
go through and find this application and start it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to know the package name. Anyway, so yeah, I really like Ubuntu Mate. And I don't think I'm gonna switch. I've tried some different distros using Mate just to see if it was the distro that I was liking, or if it was the
Yeah.
the desktop environment. I did not care
Yeah.
for Manjaro Mate at all. Manjaro Mate is very, very buggy.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether or not that's because it's a rolling release or what. I'm not quite sure. And I'm right now I'm testing Linux Mint Mate, and it's great. It's stable and everything, but it seems like it's behind. It seems like it's behind Ubuntu Mate in terms of everything else. So, I mean, like Ubuntu Mate now in 1710 has the different panel layouts like Mutiny, Cupertino, Redmond, things like that. And the way I like to change things, I mean, I like new layouts every once in a while, so I like to be able to do that. Now you can set those things up easily enough in like Linux Mint, but you have to do it yourself, so it's not there yourself. And then I've had some problems with the compositor in Linux Mint. For some reason, so I have it on my Dell touchscreen laptop. And if I want to be able to use the touchscreen as a regular touchscreen, be able to scroll and pinch to zoom and everything like that, I have to use a certain compositor. But if I use...
Hello?
What is that? Right. Did you get run over by a truck there, Ricky?
Okay, is it good?
Yeah, it's better now. Yeah, it's better now. I don't know what that sound was. It sounded like you ran out in the middle of a highway.
Never mind.
Oh,
don't mess with your Linux while you're doing a podcast.
You sound a lot better now. You sound like you're closer.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Just don't move your laptop again. It sounds like maybe you're dragging it against your jeans or something. I don't know. Yeah, I don't really remember what I was talking about now. Totally went.
Mint Mate.
Oh, right, the compositor, right? So if I want to use if I want to use the touchscreen as a touchscreen, I have to use a certain compositor. But if I use that compositor, the screen tearing is terrible. So if I switch to another compositor or window manager, where it doesn't screen tear, then the touchscreen doesn't work. It just I mean you can still touch it in the cursor or whatever will move, but it won't like scroll or pinch to zoom or anything like that. So that's really disappointing. But it worked fine on Ubuntu, which is really weird.
See, it's funny. You just reminded me that the laptop that I have is touchscreen, and because I all but forgot about it, because on regular Ubuntu, like it would never work with the mouse and the trackpad. I would always get one. So the trackpad never worked, which we'll actually talk about because it was a whole Xorg thing. The mouse always worked, but then for some reason it would stop working, and the only way I could ever do anything is I'd have to use touch to reboot. So it's funny because you mentioned it, and I was like, oh yeah, shit, I have touch. Let me see if it works on this thing. And now it works.
And so that was in regular straight up Ubuntu.
Regular Ubuntu.
Yeah, you should definitely stay away from Ubuntu, regular straight up Ubuntu, Ricky. It doesn't
but for some reason it draws me. Because I was reading the stuff you have, and I was like, oh shit, there's like a service release update coming.
Yeah.
Maybe I should put it back on.
Like, no, don't do that, Ricky. Oh. Don't go to the dark side. That's the thing about Unity, though, because I mean, the thing that made Ubuntu, stand out from everything else is Unity, right? And because Unity doesn't look like any other desktop operating system. I mean, you can make KDE look like that. You can make, you can obviously make Mate look like that. But I mean, pretty much all the rest of them have this straight up kind of Windows-esque layout. I mean, to start out with, and right out of the box. I mean, Cinnamon has a window panel layout like Windows. Budgie has a window layout like Windows. KDE has a layout, a panel layout like Windows. That's why Unity, that doesn't look anything like Windows, was so great, and that's why it was kind of shocking to all of us that they decided to get rid of it. So the thing, so let's go ahead and jump into the news.
Yeah.
The first is, as Ricky said, there is a big SRU coming for the Unity desktop on 1604 LTS. And the thing is, this kind of exploded out into the internet, in early December.
Yeah.
And people are kind of like, "Oh my God, Canonical's updating Unity." Like, I don't know why people it's surprising. 1604 is a long-term support release. Of course, they're going to support an LTS until the end of the end of support. So I mean, of course, they're going to send out. I mean, this is not going to be the last SRU for 1604 because 1604 is supported until 2020, I think. So I mean, so this is not. It's not big news like it's been treated on the internet. So, but I think it is. And because we also know that Unity itself is going to be broken off into a community-supported desktop environment, so you'll be able to actually go through into the repositories and install Unity on whether it's a regular Ubuntu now that's using GNOME, or if you wanted to install it on, say, like Budgie. I think you'd probably want to stick with the regular GTK-based distros if you're going to run this alongside another desktop environment, because running it along Qt would be a problem. But we know that's going to end up happening. So what I think is interesting, the most notable parts about this SRU is they're fixing several bugs in Compiz, Nux, and in Unity itself. They're also bringing in some bug fixes for the themes. So those are the big bug fixes that they're coming in. Now, Compiz is the compositor that controls the window manager. And it's what prevents it from screen tearing. Which is what you'll experience pretty much on every other distro if you're running any kind of graphics card whatsoever, which is weird because I always thought that the screen tearing, the problems that I was having initially in KDE were related to me running a distro or an NVIDIA graphics card. But it happens on my laptop, which has an integrated Intel graphics card, and they're completely different. So it's really weird. I think that's probably the number one thing that I have problems with Linux. I mean, Ricky, you have your own problems with Linux.
Yeah.
And we named those problems Ubuntu.
Well, like that's the thing why when I was reading it, I was like, oh, I should maybe try it again. Because I'm so familiar after using it for so long. And the thing was, I think a lot of my problems stemmed from the whole sort of graphical interface, because I had my screen was constantly flickering 24/7, and I told you about the touch screen aspect. That was an issue. Just my fans were on 24/7, which could again be from the video card. So I was like, maybe this will fix some of the problems I had. With it being LTS, it's gonna take a while to come out. So some people have been freaking out about that. But I mean, it's long-term support, right? This is. People expect it to be rock ass stable. I won't even go into that because mine wasn't even close. But anyways, but yeah, in the end, I was just kind of like, no, what I have is this is so great. I'm not gonna even chance it.
Yeah. All right. So obviously, like I said, I don't think that it's that big of a news as the way it was treated. But the SRU, I believe, I'm sorry, I didn't look and see when this was coming out. When is the SRU already out?
They said it's going to be close to Christmas. I think they said it was already in the repo, but it just, well, I mean, at the time of when that story was put out, it wasn't out yet. So they were saying it should be out soon, though, because, I mean, it's for LTS release. So they're doing more testing than they would usually do because, like I said, when they release it, it's got to be rock solid. There can't be any surprises. So I think they were looking at a time frame around Christmas, so it should be out soon.
Yeah, it may even be out now because it said that it was a week from when this article was posted.
Yeah,
All right, so anytime between maybe even now or between now and Christmas.
yeah.
So
They should just put it out right on Christmas Day. Be like, Merry Christmas,
you know,
motherfuckers.
there's a lot. That's the thing is like with Windows, you don't expect to see an update, anywhere close to Christmas because everybody at Microsoft goes home for the holidays, right?
Yeah,
But with Linux, you can get updates whenever the hell somebody works on it.
yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead
Yeah.
and skip the malware from Android, because now that
Why? I thought that was so good.
well, yeah, because you don't like Android users to be soft and secure. Um, well,
Okay, no, but you know what? I think we should talk about it because maybe someone listening will actually get the hint of how to treat these things.
all
'Cause, I
right, so
mean, some people are falling for it.
all right, so
Not, you know.
this is an email phishing scam that instead of targeting your computer, targets your Android phone. It's called Marcher. Basically, it's the from what I've just did from reading this article is basically you open up an email, it sends you a link or whatever. It's supposed to be from your bank, and this is specifically it's like a Trojan horse, right? So,
Yeah,
and Android is Linux. It
yeah,
runs a Linux kernel, even though it's an older Linux kernel.
yeah,
And
yeah,
while almost every phone you get is locked to Google's firmware, it can still be infected by malware and viruses and things like that. And it's
yeah,
actually much more targeted for that kind of stuff than regular Linux because there's obviously a lot more Android phones out there than there are Linux desktop users.
yeah.
So, but it's still basically the old telltale, you know, not. Or it's the telling your people not to open up email,
Yeah,
from
exactly. Like
anybody, right?
people, if
No,
you get an email and it asks you to click a link, number one, you can hover over the link. Don't click it. Hover for a couple minutes and you'll see the actual where the link is going. So if it says your bank is whatever, Bank of America,
but that doesn't work
Bank of,
on Android, Ricky. How do you
Greenland
hover
or
over anything
something,
on Android?
on Android, okay, I get it. If you get a link on your phone, in that case,
Don't click on it.
remember, you can always call your bank and talk to an actual live person. I don't get why so many people fall for phishing scams and like my mother-in-law.
How often do you get something? I mean, that's the problem is, Ricky, how often do you get something from your bank that's important enough to, go into? I mean,
Yeah, for me, never. It
me
doesn't
either.
matter if,
I never
yeah,
get
like,
anything from your bank. So if you all of a sudden get something from your bank, you should automatically be subsisted because
yeah,
you don't. I
exactly.
mean, banks deliberately don't send out information through email like that because they're worried about these
Or
phishing.
text message.
Right. I mean, it's not the way they do things. If they're gonna if
Yeah.
they need to contact you, most banks are gonna do it through the postal service. You
Yeah,
know,
or call you.
or yeah, the
Yeah,
call. Right.
and I
So
mean, even over here with Bitcoin, this year we've had some scams where people got text messages saying they're from the revenue agency and you have a refund in Bitcoin or refund through e-transfer. Number
yeah.
one, the revenue agency ain't gonna give you Bitcoin.
Right.
Number two, if you got a refund, they're not gonna do it through e-transfer. Like I fail to see how people are so like stupid.
Yeah.
Like
It is hard to
come on,
understand.
people.
But the thing is, though, Ricky, and we have to remember this, is that older people don't know as much as we do in terms of this technology stuff.
Yeah,
I know something simple as, don't click a link or whatever, it makes sense to us, but it doesn't make sense to people who haven't been using computers since they were 5 years old or whatever.
yeah,
So, I mean, it's just not, I mean,
yeah.
I mean, my mom,
Which is why I thought it was a good idea for us to actually talk about this, because
yeah.
who knows who's listening.
Yeah, who knows? All right, so let's move on to our last news item, which is Oh, this thing about AT&T, right?
Was it AT&T? I thought it was the Wayland thing.
No, the next one is the last news item is the AT&T Tech Mahindra launch the Acumus project. Did you read about this, Ricky? Basically, AT&T and another group are
Yeah,
getting together with the Linux Foundation
yeah.
to
Okay.
standardize a new development environment surrounding AI, which is
Oh
using
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I
which is using
remember
Linux,
that.
right? So that's why it's
Yeah,
so interesting. Um, and the
yeah,
thing is that AT&T has actually farmed this out to like the Linux Foundation and this other group, um, and allowed them to do all the work. And then AT&T will most likely take some of the open source stuff that they eventually spew out,
yeah, and put it into
and
there.
make their own software and stuff in the end.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
I think I think one of the things that we're really going to see, and that's why I kind of include this article, is that not only are we going to see a lot of a lot of the stuff that we're going to see in AI and the Internet of Things, in the next 10 years or so, is all going to be based on Linux. I mean,
yeah.
like this week, Amazon released a camera that's running Ubuntu, for their AWS software.
Oh no way.
Yeah, I mean, it's like so basically the camera's running Ubuntu, right, and then it hooks up
Yeah,
to their AWS software in the cloud or whatever, and then
yeah.
it can like it uses algorithms or whatever to spot things like like say it can tell when a certain person comes home, and it can turn on the light in their
Okay.
room or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff that they want to have
Yeah,
developed around this camera, which is really interesting. And I
yeah,
think that's this AI stuff that they're talking about in this AT&T and the Linux Foundation collaboration thing is I mean, we're going to see a lot of stuff like that, and it's all going to be running Linux. I think.
yeah,
I mean, whereas whereas the Linux desktop has never really taken off. I mean, it's very much a niche thing for people who
yeah.
either
Hobbyist.
really hate Windows or are nerds like us who just want to putter around with Linux. Um,
Yeah,
but that's not going to be the case with these little small devices in AI and stuff like that. That's all going to be Linux because Windows isn't there. Um, Windows
yeah.
is big server
Plus,
hardware.
Windows might even jump with Linux because then they make they did, but they included support or whatever.
Yeah, they're allowing the Linux
For
kernel or whatever
VMs or something.
in
Yeah,
Windows.
yeah.
See, when I first read that story about Windows including Linux, I thought, well, like, oh, great, I'm going to be able to download regular straight Ubuntu from the Windows Store, like install that. It's gonna be great. But no, you can just get the kernel. It's really sad. And it's really confusing because you're gonna have stupid asses like me thinking, "Oh, I can go download Linux Mint from the Windows Store and install it." Just like you could. I mean, no more burning a USB key and having to deal with UEFI and all this stuff. Windows is just gonna do it for me. How nice of Microsoft! No, that's
right.
I mean, how naive could I get? All right, let's move into our main topics of the week because we're running a little bit behind. All right, so. We might not get to which would you rather cover, Ricky? Things we missed from Windows or the Wayland and
things we missed from Windows?
All right, let's start with that. So,
okay.
The thing I missed from Windows the most is Outlook.
Okay.
So a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, remember me going on and on about MailSpring?
Yep.
I still love that program. It really is, but it's just not stable enough for me to use it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still in initial development. It's basically a beta. So I'm really hoping that in the next year or so or whatever, they don't abandon the project and it gets more and more stable. So I had to stop using MailSpring regrettably because MailSpring would have kind of cured my whole dependence, my whole depression over missing a good email client on my operating system. So right now I'm back to Evolution, and Evolution is kind of terrible. But that's the thing, is that there's not a good email client on Linux. There's just not.
Yeah.
I know we talk about Thunderbird, but stock Thunderbird is terrible unless you go through and download like 10 or 12 extensions or whatever and actually make it usable. Like it won't even download your Gmail address book unless you go through and get
I'm right with you on that one.
I mean, I mean, every email program ever, if you're using Gmail, I mean, it should be smart enough to know if you're using Gmail, go through and grab my contacts, because I don't know what the hell your email is, Ricky. I don't even know what my fucking email address is. How am I supposed to remember? That's why I have an address book, Thunderbird. Evolution would be perfectly fine, except for it doesn't maintain a stable connection to the server. So every I don't know, maybe 8.5 hours or so, like it will pop up a warning saying we're not connected to the Gmail servers, and then you have to re-enter your password and re-authenticate, and then Google gets you, then because of that thing, Google gets you because you've signed in so many times and tells you you've run up against an API error. I go thank, because that's really I really want to do. Thank you a lot, Google. Thank you a lot, Evolution. Geary is okay, but it's very
Geary. Not for me. Geary was shit when I tried it.
It's very limited in functionality, right? It doesn't have all the fancy settings or whatever. I mean, it's just, I mean, and then there's a whole bunch of like little email clients or whatever that look like they were designed for Windows 98. I know designs that shouldn't matter. It should be functionality that matters to me, but I want an email client that looks fairly decent or modern and also has functionality that actually works. And that's why I like MailSpring, but like I said, it's buggy. So that's the biggest thing I miss from Windows is an email client. And whether it's an Outlook or the EM or whatever I was using, there's literally a shitload of email clients for Windows, and none of them have filtered down into Linux. It's really, really, really disappointing. That's what I miss the most. I miss it on Android too. I mean, the same thing with Android is there's not very many good email clients for Android, whereas iOS, there's a shitload of them. I mean, it's literally, there's so many for iOS that are really, really good and don't have any problems. But on Android, I haven't been able to find a single one that does everything I want it to do. The only one that I've come close, there's two that I've come close to. The one I'm using now is Astro on Android, and that's fine, except for it has a bug where it won't send me notifications for one specific sender. The one sender I get the most emails from, it doesn't notify me about. It notifies me about everything else. It's a really weird, but they've had really good support. The other one that was good was Norton Email, which is also on iPhone. It's really good, but they charge $50 a year. I'm not paying $50 a year for an email client.
Or email,
very much. I'd pay $5 a year. I might even pay $10 a year. $10 would be my absolute max for that. But $50 a year is way too much. I don't care that much. But I'll suffer through with a free email client before I ever pay that much money. All right. So, Ricky, one thing that you miss from Windows.
The one thing I miss from Windows is the ease to install software. And we talked about that when we went through on Linux. The problem with Linux is when you go in and you're looking for a piece of software and you go into the forums and someone suggests to use this one, so you follow the link, but that was a post from like 3 years ago, so you don't know if this is the most up-to-date version. Does this PPA still work? You know what I mean? Like with Windows, most of the time you can even just search for it on the web and it'll come up, and you go to the site and it shows you the versions. It shows you the versions of Windows that it'll work with, the last time it was updated. So that's what I miss the most. It's so easy that it could take me a minute if I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, I need a piece of software to record the screen. You know what I mean? Like Linux, I've got to search to see what are the different ones and where can I get them. Does this one still work? Oh, this one's really old, or it's in like RPM package or Debian package, or what I mean? Yeah, that's what I miss the most.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest problem with Linux in terms of software is that it's so diverse in terms of distros and desktop environments. So like so even Mate, let's just take Mate across the board.
Yeah.
Even Mate has different software management GUIs. So like in Ubuntu Mate, you have the new software boutique.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, would be great, except for the software boutique doesn't have very much in it. It's a very empty boutique, and you can fix that by adding PPAs, and then it will include different software sources. So I mean, it's fixable, and I think that over time that GUI will eventually be good. But that's just on Ubuntu Mate. If you use like Manjaro Mate or on Linux Mint Mate, they're completely different GUIs. So like I know I haven't been using Linux Mint Mate for very long, but it uses the GNOME Software Center basically, or some version of the GNOME Software Center, or a spinoff or something like that. It's completely different than the Software Boutique, and the GNOME Software Center is again, it's perfectly fine. It's just not everything is there. If you use Arch, the best package management I've ever seen is Arch through the AUR. That's because literally everything is in the freaking AUR. If it's not in the AUR, chances are you can't run it.
Yeah.
It just won't work. So, and that's the thing, is everything is in the AUR. That's why I always liked Arch so much. Is because you don't have to go out and search for a PPA. You don't have to go out and search for the deb package. It's just there. You click install, enter your password, it's installed. I mean, it's literally there. Of course, Arch has other problems in terms of being a rolling release and crashing all the time because you're running on the bleeding edge of everything. So really what I want, that's why Manjaro would be the perfect solution for that, because they kind of delay the rolling release. They go through and they test things before they rolling it out a little bit. But Manjaro has a whole other problems. So yeah. The whole, that's really the biggest problem with Linux in terms of software. So one more thing I want is I installed my first Flatpak.
Ooh.
This past week. I wanted to install a Twitter client called Corebird. I think everybody's pretty much heard of Corebird. And apparently now they've gone through and they're just using FlatHub completely. I don't know. I didn't really search for anything beyond that, because like, oh, I get to try FlatHub. First of all, it was astonishingly slow. It was like really slow. It took like 20 minutes to download and install after I went through and install Flatpak, and to get the actual Flatpak functionality, because Ubuntu doesn't support Flatpak out of the box. It supports snaps.
Yeah.
But you can still use Flatpak. So I installed Flatpak. And I didn't know that you have to log out and log back in order for Flatpak to be initiated. Which, first of all, Windows alert. Nobody wants to have to shut down their computer to install software. It's just seriously, it's the reason why Windows sucks, is because every time iTunes has an update, you have to fucking reboot.
Yeah.
Stupid. And that's the reason why we like Linux. We don't want to see that. And I understand that it's only a one-time thing. But that shouldn't be a necessity. But after I, figured that out or whatever, I went through and installed the Flatpak for Corebird, and it literally took 20 minutes. Wow. It wasn't, my internet wasn't running slow. Everything else was working fine. It just, for some reason, downloading that from FlatHub was, just really astonishingly slow. The idea behind FlatHub and Snaps or whatever, where we can have this one place where software lives for every Linux distro, is awesome. That's literally the Linux dream. And it doesn't matter, even if both of these things work, just to have two different places, it doesn't matter which one you use. Maybe you use both. It doesn't matter. It's really awesome. But the problem is it's just not there yet. It's not there yet. And it's slow.
Yeah, and especially if everyone's going to be hammering it, because if you say you're the central repository, then that means instead of looking to other places, everyone's going to come to you. So then you should know and make sure you're able to handle the traffic.
Right. It's not there. And as slow as Linux moves in terms of development, really, truly, obviously Linux moves a lot faster now than it used to. But still, in terms of, innovation and development and stuff like that. It's quite a bit slower than Windows. It's just because there's
Yeah.
fewer people doing it. So I mean, I'm a little worried that the pace of improvement for FlatHub and Snaps is just not going to keep up with the people who really want this to work. You know what I mean? All right, so
Yeah.
let's go through and see if we can do one more. Then we'll move to the pet trick. So
All right.
my last thing that I missed from Windows the most is going to be another software thing, and I feel like I'm preaching this, and I think you'd think that I would like mention games, right? Because I miss playing Hearthstone. I can't play Hearthstone on Linux, but I don't really miss it. The thing I miss most actually is I mean, this is going to sound really stupid because it kind of goes along with the email thing, but there's not like a to-do app on Linux.
Okay.
So I use Todoist, and Todoist is everywhere, in terms of applications, except for on Linux. There's no Todoist app on Linux. Now you can use the Google Chrome extension, but it's terrible. It's god awful. It's literally like a 5-year-old decided that they're going to code something and put it in the Google Chrome App Store. Or whatever. I mean, it's not the same. Now I downloaded one called Everdo. I haven't had a chance to use it yet, but again, that's gonna sandbox my to-do list on my Linux box. And I like having it being able to sync to my phone and sync to my laptop and stuff like that. And I don't think that it has
the whole kind of
right. I want to have my to-do list with
behind the to-do list.
Yeah. So for some reason, I mean, when you learn to code, chances are one of the first things you're going to learn to code, probably if you're going to be coding apps, is probably a to-do list because it's like the easiest thing to learn to code. I mean, it doesn't matter what language you're learning it. I mean, other than Hello World, once you get into complex applications, you're probably gonna do a to-do list. I mean, that's why there's so many freaking to-do lists on Windows, is because that's the first that's the first thing you learn to do, is a to-do list. I mean, I mean, like I have a coding book right here. Once you get past the initial stages of learning your language or whatever, that's what you're gonna do. I mean, and for some reason that hasn't translated to there being a lot of good to-do lists on Linux. It's really weird. And it's really, really weird. Plus, then you have to deal with the whole Qt versus GTK thing. A lot of the times on these applications, and this just isn't to-do list. A lot of the times, you find a really good application or whatever, and it's Qt only, or it works best in Qt. Or the other way around. If you're using KDE and you want to use, say, Evolution as your email client, that's a GTK based application, and it doesn't work with KDE, not very well, because you have to download a whole bunch of GTK dependencies, in which case you've bogged your system down with GTK for this one application, and it's really terrible. It's the whole it's just, I mean, there's so many different things in Linux that just sometimes don't work very well together. All right, so Ricky, your last one.
My last one is support. So, like, I mean, if you look at something like the iPhone, the iPhone is everywhere. Everyone has an iPhone. Try to connect an iPhone to a Linux machine. It is not fun to try and get those files off.
Works straight on Android, though. Huh? I said it works straight on Android, though.
Oh, of course it does. But I mean, it's not even only that. But again, what was it? There was something else I connected the other day, and it was the same problem. So I mean, like I connected it. I connected mine while I had straight Ubuntu, and for some reason, like, it would come up and it would ask you if you wanted to open the Shotwell manager, I think, or something like that. And if you chose to just open the regular directory, you get an empty window. You open the Shotwell manager and it says it's importing, but then nothing ever does. So then when I reloaded with Ubuntu Mate, I thought, okay, let me try. Plugged it in straight out the bat without loading anything. It worked great the first time. Second time, it went back to the same sort of thing where it wouldn't see. It opened an empty folder. Shotwell Manager doesn't work. So it's just like that kind of thing is like, if it's not only Android users who are going to be using Linux, so you're going to run into people who have an iPhone, and it's going to be a horrible ass experience for them.
Yeah.
So like with that, Windows just it accepts everyone right out of the box. So it's like,
Yeah.
Come on, y'all. You got a scanner from 1930? Sure, plug it in.
Yeah, Apple and Microsoft have to work together, to get their stuff working like that. And so Apple knows that they have to have their devices working on Windows because so many people use Windows. I mean, they're not going to worry about Linux because there's just not enough people. All right, so let's move on because I know you got to get back to work. So, so my pick of the week is called Peak.
Yeah.
Now, Peak is freaking amazing. Hold on a second. Sorry, trying to stifle a cough. Anyways, Peak is basically will record a section of your screen as a GIF, or a movie, or I think there's a third format. But I specifically use it for a GIF, and there doesn't seem to be a limit on the length of the GIF. So you can go through and you could record a whole YouTube video as a GIF. And then it just saves it as a GIF, and you can post it as on Facebook or whatever. And it's great. It just basically it hovers over your screen, and you hit record, and it records whatever it's hovering over. It's fantastic. It works. It's free. I use it. I mean, I'm going to be using it for some tutorials on the linuxcast.com. And actually, I already did. I reviewed Ubuntu Mate on there, on the link.com. I used Peak to record those GIFs on there. It's really great. So that's my pick. I wanted to mention another one real quick. It's called Audio Recorder. Now, it's not the most unique name ever. It's just called Audio Recorder. But the thing is, it will record literally any audio that comes out of your system. So I've been doing this. I've been a very, 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 very naughty boy, and I've been recording Spotify. If there's not an MP3 or a song that I have, I'll go to Spotify. I'll play it and use Audio Recorder to record.
Now they're gonna get shut down.
That thing. Oh, it's not just for Spotify. I mean, it'll literally record anything. So I mean, it's not as if they're pointing them users towards. I mean, it'll literally records coming from your sound card or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's like, where has this thing been all my life? This is why Linux is awesome, because that would never make it onto Windows. I mean, I'm sure it's there, but it'd be janky. You'd have to download drivers or some kind of workaround, bridge or something to get it to work. I mean, on Linux, it works. It's awesome. All right, Ricky, yours.
Okay, so I'm going to go through these pretty fast because I want to get to my complaint section. So the first one is called Etcher, ETCHER. I got that from Matt when he gave me the instructions to download and get Ubuntu Mate on a USB. It's wicked because in the past when I've tried to put Linux on USB, I've had to do different ways. This was the easiest. I did it on my Mac, so it runs from the Mac. Boom, Etcher. EncryptMe is a VPN. I use it because what's great about it is if you're Mac-centric, then it works on iPhone, iPad, and Mac. They don't have any other clients, but if you are Mac-centric, like I said, account, you can load it on all those things. If you don't know why you need a VPN and you frequent lots of free hotspots at McDonald's and Starbucks and whatever, look up VPN, you'll figure it out. So the main thing I wanted to talk about is my complaint of Windows 10. In Windows 10, when you set up a machine, you join it to a domain. Why the fuck does the domain admin not have powers to do simple things as change the desktop icons? Like, it is ridiculous that I get like system32 error. I don't have permission. I found this site that has some group policy changes that you can make to get around it. But I mean, right out of the box, that's ridiculous. It's not a function of your domain admin being called administrator, because where I work, that's not the name, but our user is a member of the domain administrators group. So that has nothing to do with it. That I get that you could say it's because of malware. Something very common is for them to compromise the administrator account using password default. That's not the case. So what the hell's going on here, Microsoft? Windows 10 is supposed to be the greatest Windows version ever, but it fucks up on something as simple as that. Another thing, when you go in as an admin, you can't open Edge. Like, what the fuck? The admin's supposed to have all the power. Why can you not open Edge? You can't open any browser. How are you supposed to set shit up on the computer? Come on, Microsoft, fix your stuff.
That's really weird.
Yeah,
it's
ridiculous.
You should switch to Linux. Like your whole company should switch to Linux.
Yeah, good luck with that one.
you know, all your admins have sudo and can run into groups and stuff. It'd be great. I mean, it's literally user games are all in Linux. It's right baked in. Anyway, I mean, you won't be able to use half the software you use, but who cares? Who needs that software?
Who needs to do work?
That's
all the clients. Just pay me to use Linux.
Google Chrome is on there. That's all you need is Google Chrome. Firefox is awesome. All right, anyways. So that is it for us this week. This is our last episode of the year. 2017 is in the books. We just spanked it on the ass.
Yep. Happy holidays. Root is life.
Yeah, whatever. All that stuff. If you want to get in contact with us, I'm MTWB on Twitter. Also MTWB on Mastodon, which I've never actually logged into since I set that account. But I'm there if you want to follow me. Ricky is Ricky_Williams1. He's not on Mastodon because he's an utter bastard.
Well, I'm trying to get friends going.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
You can also follow us on Facebook at the Linux Cast. You can follow us on YouTube at some ungodly, crazy URL. Well, you can't have a cosmetic or whatever the hell they call it URL with your name.
A certain amount of followers.
Yeah, we're not there yet. Mainly because I switched to our own dedicated YouTube channel off from my own personal one. My own personal one's getting close.
Yeah,
we'll get there eventually because we actually are getting views on YouTube, which is freaking crazy.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't want to get any anymore. You can also, so I did Facebook, I did Twitter. You can also visit the linuxcast.com. The linuxcast.com is where we put the podcast. It's also where every once in a while I write an article about some things that's bothering me or a review or something. Ricky's going to eventually write there if he gets around to it. So it's that's where we
New Year.
Yeah, after the New Year, Ricky's going to write once a week. That's his New Year's resolution. Yeah. How do I have a feeling that this New Year's resolution, Ricky, has already been...
well, it has to be the new year for it to come into effect. So.
All right, we'll see. All right, anyway, so that is it for us. This 2017 finale episode. We'll be back sometime in the new year. We'll see you then.
All right. Take it easy.